as you, for me, was more like the Krishna guiding Arjun. At the end, all the tasks were done by Arjun and all the learnings were taken by Arjun to reach his goal.
Right.
So that is the biggest learning that I got, that I have to work hard to make it work. But what you can tell, or any MBA consultant can tell, is where to work hard and where not to. I think where not to is even more important.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And thank you for calling this question. That's very kind of you. Hi, everyone. This is Piyush Ranjan. I'm the founder of Management Masters, a boutique admission consulting firm for the top MBA programs around the world. And today I have with me Varnim Goyal. Varnim worked with us to apply to multiple top business schools, and he secured admission from INSEAD and MIT Sloan. So without further ado, let's talk to Varnim. Great to have you here with us, Varnim. Could you give us a brief introduction about what you have been doing and where do you come from?
My name is Varnim, and I am originally coming from New Delhi. I've done my bachelor's from India in electrical engineering from IIT-BHU. And after bachelor's, I moved to Germany to pursue my career towards sustainability and did my master's from University of Ulm. From the last 5 years, after completing my master's, I'm working with a company called as Hilti. Hilti is a well-known power tools manufacturer, and I am working to develop their lithium-ion batteries portfolio. Currently, I'm working as technical project manager in Munich, which is located in the south of Germany.
Right. So, Varnim, you had a very, very interesting career journey and a very strong sort of career progression as well at Hilti, right? So, could you help me understand what led you to realize that you would have wanted to go for an MBA at this stage of your career?
Yes, Piyush. Actually, when I did my master's, that time I had a feeling either I will do master's or an MBA. And but because I was more technically oriented, I chose master's that time. But by the time I was finishing my master's, I realized that going further in my career, if I really want to lead teams, either I have to go towards the path of PhD, if I am going more toward technical, or I have to do an MBA. When to do this MBA was not clear in my mind. And I had questions regarding, is a part-time MBA good or a full-time? These kind of things were happening. And by the time I realized that, okay, I will do an MBA, COVID came. So I delayed the decision for a couple of years. And then finally we talked, okay. And that's how I pushed myself that if I really want to enjoy this journey, I will do a full-time MBA. And from there, the journey started that, okay, let's give it whatever it takes.
Right.
To go for it.
Right. So, what is your goal through an MBA at this stage of your career, right? So you've already been working as a kind of a product manager, right? You've been working on that track at Hilti. So what exactly are you looking for as your short-term goal from an MBA as an outcome of it?
Yes, Piyush. So I am working as a project manager, and it's more in technical domain. So I have a feeling that if there is a time when I want to explore things outside technology, then this is the right time. Because if I go next 5 years more in technology, then I will remain there for the rest of my life. Maybe that is also not a bad idea, and perhaps even by after MBA, I do that. But before taking this decision for the rest of my life, I want to explore the other aspects of business. And I think the fastest way to do that is an MBA program.
Right.
Yes.
Now, just to understand a bit more in terms of when you started applying, you again, as you said, you come from a very technical branch or a very technical sort of field that you've been working in. So, what would you say? Did you have any apprehensions regarding applying, or regarding any shortcomings that you saw in your own profile?
I think there are two answers to that. One is before I started applying, how I perceived my profile at that time, and once when I was applying or at this moment. I think now I'm more mature. 2 years before, I think I had a feeling GMAT is the thing that, okay, I did not have a GMAT. If I get a very good GMAT score, it will work. and I was not sure if I will really get a good GMAT score. I didn't thought about extracurriculars and other stuff. I knew that there is something interesting in my profile, that I have an international experience
Mhm.
and I'm working towards sustainability. This gave me a feeling that my profile has a potential to stand out. But still, I was
Right.
giving a lot of focus on GMAT at the time.
Right.
When I talk about today I see one of the major block which could have been missing in my profile or in my application process is to give enough time to each section, not focus on one section over proportionately. Not
Correct.
only the application process, scholarships and everything, try to give time and do it on time to plan for the round one deadline. Let's talk about it next year.
Right. 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 Now, when you decided to start applying and start working on the GMAT, right? Because you have also been working in a in a professional setting. It's usually very difficult for candidates to manage both GMAT as well as their professional life, right? And this is a question that we get from a lot of candidates: that how do you really manage the GMAT prep alongside your professional life? So, could you tell us a bit about how did you go about it? What worked best for you to sort of manage this?
Yes, Piyush, definitely. I think if I can go back in time, I would have given the GMAT during my master's itself because it is valid for 5 years. And that time you are in the education mode. To me, it took a lot of time to come into the education mode, first of all. Once you are there, it was easy. One good thing is in Germany, the work-life balance helps you a lot. So you have 8 hours a day, so you can take out time. You are not spending 12 hours on work. The second thing which helped is you get 30 holidays in a year. And for both my GMATs, I took 2 weeks off. I gave the GMAT 2 times, and yes, it was at a cost that I did not went to visit my family for one vacation, and that's how I managed it.
Right. And what worked best for you, if I may ask, regarding the GMAT prep? Anything that stood out or that you would suggest everybody to utilize, when they
I
start
think
preparing for their GMAT?
what I used is as a resource. If you say the Manhattan books, I think everybody know about. I don't need
Okay.
to refocus that, especially for English. Like if you read it 10 times, it is still less, I would say.
Mhm.
Then I took Visaco for mathematics. Uh,
Okay.
Somehow I found it on Quora or something, and I took that. That time my English was really weak, and what worked for me with English is building the base. And building the base happened in multiple scenarios. Like I started with the Manhattan books, then focus on some questions, regular readings. Yes, regular readings, but the GMAT, not any newspaper or any articles. I went to the GMAT materials, like the official guide and things like this. And then to give the final touch, in the second attempt, I took the Magoosh coaching. And they guaranteed that they can increase the marks by 50 marks. Otherwise, they will give the money back. I got a 40-mark increase. And Magoosh, I would say, played a very big role. Even though it was 40, I did not ask for the money back because it was worth it.
Right. Right. Makes sense. But apart from the material itself, in terms of the preparation strategy that you had, would there be something that stood out for you or that helped you extensively in your GMAT prep?
Time management.
Okay.
I
Could you
think,
elaborate a little bit?
yes. I think if we are in a normal setting, questions can be solved. It's not a big challenge until unless you are absolutely from a different background. The game is dependent on how relaxed can you finish your last question, and that can only happen if you are focusing on time pretty good. There are some strategies for that. So I actually watched some YouTube videos, and I also realized that the pen you are using for the GMAT itself,
Mhm.
that is very important, because the first attempt that I gave is I was surprised to see this silky pen that you write on the plastic papers. And the second attempt, I all these environmental things I planned pretty well. The time management, the type of pens we are using, type of sheets we are using, so that I know what I'm going to get. This perfected my mathematics section, that I was not, I was plus minus 30 seconds in every questions overall journey. With English, it's a different story. English, everybody has its own A game. My A game was critical reasoning. Okay. So, and one thing I realized, I did an analysis myself. If I can attempt a sentence correction question in a minute, right, I can do it right. Otherwise, even at 2.5 minutes, I cannot do it right. So there I save the time. Okay, if it is not happening in 1 minute, I will go to the next question. Does not matter.
Right. So you basically, through all the practice that you did, you identified what worked best for you, and then accordingly you sort of continued your practice.
Yeah, this I did a lot. This I did with every exam. Like especially whenever I was having the wrong questions, I was realizing why it is getting wrong. And I found out very simple mistakes that I was repeating again and again. Like I was not checking zero case in mathematics if it is fitting for zero or not. So then I promised myself, whatever is the question, I will definitely check the zero case. And this increased my 1 marks, 49 to 50 and 50 to 51. This is how it made it jump.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Now coming to applying to the business schools, you had a very could you help me understand what was the thought process behind choosing which schools you would want to apply to? Which schools did you end up applying to, and the kind of results that you ended up receiving?
Yes, Piyush. I think the journey started with rankings. I think for most of the people, it starts from there. And I was not very clear if I am even a top 10 material or not, to be very fair. In the beginning, it was not my game, I was thinking. And then some of my friends motivated me. You also motivated me. There are a lot, my wife motivated me. That was a kind of journey. I started with applying to Mannheim. I think I already told you that. And then I was thinking about Oxford, Cambridge, and these universities. But you know that I have been in one country and I moved to the next one. I did not want to make a decision that I remain associated with the country itself. And that changed my realization that the next step that I should take should be in global MBA. And then I started looking from that perspective. Okay, what makes the most sense? And in that, INSEAD fits pretty well, and that became from the very beginning the school that I was looking for.
Right.
And the things the things change during the journey, but yeah, that's how it happens.
Right. Now, when we worked together, obviously you ended up receiving an admit from INSEAD. How did change your overall strategy of applying to schools, or did that have much effect?
To applying, I will say, yeah, it did. But the most important schools I have already prepared before the INSEAD result came out. It really helps.
Right.
No doubt about it. The two colleges I applied after receiving, I was pretty much more confident.
Right. Where did you apply after receiving the INSEAD admit?
After receiving, so Harvard and Wharton I applied before. And after INSEAD admit, next week was MIT Sloan deadline. And I think then it was Kellogg. Somewhere was Kellogg and IMD. So
right.
IMD anyways was late. Yeah.
Just to clarify, you applied to Kellogg and IMD on your own, utilizing whatever we had worked so far.
Yeah, exactly.
And you applied to MIT Sloan as well. And could you just tell us about your amazing result with all these schools?
Yeah, sure, Piyush. So yes, LBS applied also. We applied in between, right? So I think I missed the round one deadlines. That was very clear because my GMAT was not good. And the first college I applied INSEAD, and I would say INSEAD really took a lot of effort, really taught me a lot about the journey. And then once I applied for INSEAD, the journey was like I started receiving the interviews. I was talking to a lot of alums. And I also visited the campus at Fontainebleau as well as HEC Paris at time. And that gave me a realization that the people I'm talking to are coming from similar backgrounds. They are not coming from somewhere totally different from another planet or something. That helped me a lot, first of all. Then I applied to Harvard and Wharton because the couple of US schools I applied just as a dream schools, I would say, to see what my potential is. That Okay, so that I don't miss that. At least I should have applied there. And then the next, because I was in Europe, LBS fit pretty well. And later, once I got the admit, I realized that my company was sponsoring the IMD MBA program. So IMD was anyways in my list, and so I applied there also. And yes, I think you know about the Kellogg, that it was just the last moment my essays were ready, because it was pretty much from your 8-step process. Couple of things were coming from there, the values and stuff, and it was, yeah, and that's it.
Right. And could you help us understand, because all of these schools that you apply to, they have very different kinds of essays, right? INSEAD has a completely different application. Harvard, Wharton, obviously, though we were not successful, they have completely different applications. LBS is very different. And the same applies to Kellogg and Sloan and IMD, right? So when you were working on their applications and their essays, uh, what were you trying to convey through the essays to the B school? Could you help us understand a bit?
Yes, I think, Piyush, I was making analysis. I talked to myself a lot. So one of the analysis that I did is, the more LMs I talk to, the better was the result for me. The more the people I talk to, and that also reflect. I think that is also what got reflected in the essays.
Mhm,
So when you talk to the people, you know which kind of people are there, how the environment is. It's not about what kind of answers they are looking for. It's about which part of of your life or of your personality you want to show to that business school.
mhm,
That was something which came very handy to me in applying to the schools. And after one level, I realized that, as you mentioned, that every part has some percentage of it. You cannot
mhm.
perfect every single part. And that helped me saying, okay, this is the final version. Let's stop it there. This is how it.
Right. So if, for future aspirants who are looking to apply to these schools, because you also had tremendous success, so getting admitted from
Mhm.
INSEAD, MIT Sloan, and then also getting admitted from IMD and Kellogg, right? Uh, Now, this is a tremendous feat. And what would you suggest future candidates to do when they're working on these applications, when they're sort of preparing themselves for these applications? What would be your advice based on your experiences so far?
I think in applying for the B schools, the first and foremost thing is, I would say, take time, at least one year before you start applying. And this 1 year, be in that process that you start thinking about it. Yeah,
Mhm,
either you're reading some blog, you're watching some YouTube videos, just to live that journey. What is going to come? What are they looking? What is being looked for? What are people doing around you? Things like this. Like, I remember one of the very good advice from a from a bachelor's friend from Oxford. He said, it was 3 years before I applied. From now on, whichever project you do at your company, think from the perspective about how big this picture can be. Like, what is the bigger goal you are going to deliver? So that when you and start writing it down. So
mhm.
when you write your CV, you don't forget this incident.
Right,
So that was if you write about something when you are doing it, you can write it the best compared to if you write it 3 years down the line. This is
right.
the one thing pre-MBA journey I will recommend. The second, I think, you need somebody to talk to who have been through this journey, who can understand you. I'm not talking about a psychologist or something, but perhaps in my case, you fit pretty well. In some other case, maybe some elder brother or something may make sense. That you can trust on one side, and second, he has an informed decision making process.
Mhm,
This will really help in the MBA journey. I will add, I didn't talk about in this essay, I think, is this recommendation things.
mhm.
I think this is very important. First of all, depends on your situation, but recommendation really take 8 to 10 hours of your recommender if you're applying to 5 colleges.
Right.
And yeah, first of all, make sure that they have that time. Then go to them. Second, could definitely thank them after the process, because their 10 hours are really costly.
Right. Right. Right.
in
So
writing the essay.
now, now that you have all these admits, you've had a great run. What have you decided? Where are you finally going? Which school are you sort of going to?
Yes, Piyush, I
Have you
think
made
last
that
2 weeks
decision?
were, oh yeah, so last 2 weeks were pretty hectic in taking
Mhm.
this decision because I'm in a situation of the life now, right? I'm married and we are expecting our first kid. So, of course, there was personal situation involved, but I wanted to take this decision based on merits and then include the personal scenario. And luckily, that what I boiled it down to was INSEAD or MIT Sloan.
Mhm.
Kellogg would have made sense, but the 2 year program, my goals are fitting better with MIT Sloan.
Okay.
And the major reason I will most probably turn towards INSEAD. So this is
Mhm.
almost done. I have not just signed the contract. I would say is is the global network that I gain from INSEAD, and the second most important factor is I have already been in Europe from 8 years. I'm a German citizen now, and I can speak German language also.
Right.
So I want to play on my strengths rather than reinventing the whole wheel uh, again in US. And
Right.
from that perspective, INSEAD fits pretty well. That I will keep my network in Europe as well as gain a global alumni network, which will provide me flexibility whole around my life.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Uh, and now that you've said that you're going to INSEAD most likely, what would you say is the most exciting part of INSEAD for you?
Oh yes. So I will say if you combine alums of all the colleges I have talked to, the number will not be bigger than the number of alums I have talked from INSEAD.
Okay.
And everybody has said that it's a and the number is a bigger two-digit number. I'm not talking about 5 or 6. I'm really talking about. I went to Fontainebleau to just have a look about the environment. So the biggest thing I think for me is the the interaction that I am going to have with the class, because every we already have a platform where we are interacting from last 3 months. I know half of the class already, and every person has a very interesting story, absolutely different backgrounds, completely like I met one person, for example, he is working as a project manager in the Riyadh metro. So he's using tools of my company. And then I talked to a lady who is helping companies to get sustainable in US, and I'm working on the other side of the things. And then I met around 5 or 6 people from Australia. Like before that, my number from Australia was zero. This kind of experience to meet them personally and talk to them, I think that will be the biggest part of the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that has been absolutely an incredible journey that we've shared together, right? And thank you so much for having worked with us to go onto this journey to allow us to help you with your applications. But I would want to sort of understand your perspective as to why did you decide to work with us? What made you choose us as your admission consultant?
Piyush, I think so. I didn't know about you, and I heard your name somewhere. But the first thing that I remember now is from a Quora post. I'm not sure how many people will come to you using Quora, and I also don't use Quora a lot. But it was just a coincidence I saw, and I saw okay the guy that you are from my college from bachelor's. So that gave me a trust. Okay, the person, whatever he is doing. He's doing now, because it's absolutely different, right? You're an engineer and now you're doing this. That means it's what you really want to do. It's not something and that gave me a very positive idea. Then I looked at your profile, and that opened the door for me that okay, you have a journey that you can stand in my feet and think what I am thinking. I had a concern which later got resolved, that should I look for somebody as a complementary to me or supplementary to me?
Okay.
to fulfill this picture. And I look to you that, okay, you can help me getting better, but at the same time, you were able to provide the complementary point of view because you are talking to 20 other people, right? So, beginning, I came with a trust. Like you had this first call. Even if you would not have that, I would have chosen you already. I will ask you the other question also. Why did you choose me? Let's come to that later. But overall, at the later point of time, I was convinced that this was the right choice
Right.
because you were able to say me no, that this does not make sense, and this was very important to me because I am somebody which cannot say to myself.
Right.
This helped
Right.
me. Yeah.
Now, thank you so much for that. That's very, very kind of you. But I also want to talk a little bit about the process that we have, that we work with candidates, and very elaborate process that you also went through, right? The 8-step process that we
Hmm.
have built. So, how would you say did the 8-step process actually, did it help you in your journey? If it did, then how did it actually help you? If you could sort of tell us a
Piyush,
bit about
I
that.
think if I talk about 8 steps in one to one, back to back, I cannot say if every step really helped me, but as a package as a whole, it really helped me a lot. Where does it help me? First of all, it helped me in getting all the thoughts which are somewhere in my mind jumbled, in getting structured into different sections. The second place it helped me is whenever I am confused, what should I write in this essay? I don't know what should I write, which experience should I share. When I start reading those notes of those 8 step processes, I got this point that, okay, this fits perfectly here. And our mind is not designed that we remember everything at each point of time. And this is really helps you out. First of all, makes you eases you because you get a starting point. And second, you can build upon something that you have already written. So you
Right.
can improve during the essay. You're not writing it the first time. These are the two things I really liked. The last thing is, as you know, that my couple of last applications, I did it really fast. That also
Right.
was because of 8 step process and the
Right.
other essays that I wrote here.
Right. And if you could just very quickly sort of talk about, we also worked on interview prep, right? So how did that work out for you? And any feedback that you would have regarding the interview prep and how we sort of helped you out there.
When I got the interview call, I was pretty happy, but at the same time, I'm not doing an MBA because I'm not happy with my job. I'm pretty happy with my job, and I've never given an interview from last 5 years. That is why I really needed this because first of all, it's not the interview of your technical strengths; it is something different.
Right.
And Aniket, who actually took my interview, did a really good job. And he gave me a confidence that my answers are good. He's liking it. Yes, of course, I need to do a lot of preparation. First of all, you came, yes. You with a list of questions and how what is the expectation and these things. I prepared that with mirror, with camera and everything. That worked. But Aniket's interview really helped me a lot in opening up myself. Were the real interviews like that? Absolutely no, because I had face-to-face interview on the dining table and in a cafe, right?
Right.
So that was absolutely different exposure, I would say. But I was not worried what is going to come. I was enjoying the process after that. That is the most important point. In the next interview for the MIT Sloan, I would say it's either you call it overconfidence or you call it laziness. I was not ready
Mhm.
because I forgot the answers. I did not practice, did not polish, and that also was a good thing that we did it again. And I got the honest feedback that the improvements are required. And there, I would say the questions in the interviews were pretty much same as we discussed in the interviews because it was a standard interview at MIT.
Right. Right. So I think that we had that the reason why, just to clarify for people, why you had gotten lazy before the MIT interview was essentially because there was like a, I think, 2 to 3 month gap between your INSEAD interview and the MIT
Yes.
interview, right? So because you had not prepared for that, we did another mock, and then essentially we figured out, okay, you need to sort of oil up all the rusty gears that you have now. right. But then again, I think you did pretty well because you ended up getting the Sloan admit as well. So I don't think there was a lot of issues after that. But thank you so much for sharing all this. Now we would want to move towards the last part of the interview. That is what we call as the rapid fire. So let's have the first question. Now that you have been through the entire journey, right? You've been through the entire application process. What would you say is the biggest myth about the MBA application process that exists?
Biggest myth, Piyush, is that the MBA consultants are doing everything to get you into the MBA colleges. I
Mhm.
think the MBA consultant, as you, for me, was more like the Krishna guiding Arjun. At the end, all the tasks were done by Arjun and all the learnings were taken by Arjun to reach his goal.
Right.
So that is the biggest learning that I got, that I have to work hard to make it work. But what you can tell, or any MBA consultant can tell, is where to work hard
Mhm.
and where not to. I think where not to is even more important.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And thank you for calling this question. That's very kind of you. Uh, Now, coming to the second question that I have is from your perspective, right? How important is GMAT or GRE score to get into a top school?
Piyush, I think nobody can answer this question in general. First of all, it's a personal dependent. Maybe INSEAD this year has a different person in admissions board next year. Can happen. It is very important to give you a self confidence,
Mhm.
and my self confidence was from the point, if I am above the median. If I am
Right.
above the median, then when I am applying, I know that I am one of the good candidates. So GMAT will not be the reason if they reject me.
Right.
And this gives you a very positive feeling, even if you're accepted or if you are rejected. So this is the thing I will say about GMAT. But most important, give it as early as possible. Take it out of the equation completely, because you can. This is the only thing which you can take out of the equation.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the next question that I have is, through the entire application journey, the entire application process, right from preparing for GMAT, writing your essays, building your applications, talking to people, uh, and giving your interviews, right? What was the most interesting aspect of the entire application process for you?
For me, the most interesting point was after second or third uh, college, I prepared my Excel list where I knew which section belongs to what, and in the next application form, which section I can use, like hobbies. Okay, I can use it from the page 5 of this college. So I prepared a very good structure in Excel for myself. That was very
Okay.
interesting for me because I was saving really a lot of time doing that. There was an interesting part for me, which I enjoyed the most, was the interviews,
Okay.
because interviews were really casual. Like, I was telling everything I want to tell them. I did not try to hide anything. Like, there are some failures in my life, I discussed openly with them.
Right. And what would you say was the most challenging or the worst part of the application process that you will never want to do again?
I would like to say GMAT,
You're not the only one.
especially.
I think that 99% of the answers that we get is different.
Yeah, that is one thing. The second thing is this. I'm not sure how to say it in English, but this kida of thinking that how can this be improved further? Things
Okay.
like this. Like, is it final? Think about every single word 10 times. Does this word
Right.
make sense?
Right.
This is
Right.
something I didn't like,
So
and
the overthinking aspect when trying to perfect your essays or perfect
yeah,
your
analysis
application.
paralysis situation. Yeah, this is the
Right.
thing.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Uh, the next question that I have is how would you describe, the 8-step process that we worked on in one word?
Exploring yourself.
Okay. Okay. And one final question is one final piece of advice for future aspirants.
I think first of all, there is no right way. This we have to understand. And if you are not sure that this is the B school I want to apply for, And I understand that everybody try to balance the best colleges versus sure shots. Then apply as early as possible. If you get some admits in round one, you will be much more motivated to apply to round two. But if you get some admits in round two, then you cannot think about applying in round three anyways, right? So
Right.
this is the thing I will say.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Varnim. It was absolutely wonderful talking to you again after such a long time, and having worked with you. I wish you the best for the next year at INSEAD, and I hope we'll remain in touch. And looking forward to your journey post your MBA.